Hi everyone, and thanks again for joining us for Yap versus Yap, as we call it. Even though we end up agreeing a lot on these, we want to talk about movies right after we've seen them. So we're here for our review of Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Garfield. It's the new film based on the work of Jonathan Larson, if I got his name right.
Yes, that's right.
And it's directed by
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Whose name I always get wrong. It's the first film he's ever directed. Joined by Omar Brito, who you probably know from another of these. Also pleased to be joined by, I think for the first time, Richard, right?
Yes.
So you've seen him writing for the film Yap, but we're happy to have him joining us here. So, big musical story. My take on it is I love the music. I think Andrew Garfield was terrific. He can sing, in case you're wondering.
I was asking.
But if you're not that familiar with Broadway or the feel of Broadway musicals or the history of Jonathan Larson, who did Rent, I don't know. For me, there was kind of like this learning curve watching the movie of like, who is that? Okay, I'm trying to like assemble the pieces as it was going on. So maybe it kind of, for me, the emotional journey part of it didn't quite connect until probably like the last half of it. But Nate, what was your take?
I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the music, like you said, was excellent. Andrew Garfield, I really can see him like being a big front runner for the Oscar. I would say he would win if it weren't for Will Smith already. I just, like you said, I'm not a theater guy. Like, I used to be, but I don't know much about it. So like the cameos, I only noticed like one or two of them. I was just kind of lost with that. I know who Stephen Sondheim was, obviously, so I kind of got like the emotional impact with that Bradley Whitford's like character performance as him there. It was paced really well. It went by pretty fast. It's not one of those like overlong musicals that we've gotten recently. Like, I know this is Stephen Levinson who wrote this, and he just did Dear Evan Hansen, which I infamously did not like.
Yeah, I thought there was a good balance of the acting and the dialogue and dramatic scenes versus the music. A lot of times it seems like it's just song, or it's like the music goes away for such long periods that you're like, oh yeah, this is a musical when they start singing again. So that I thought had a nice balance. Omar, how about you?
I knew nothing about Jonathan Larson. I knew about Rent. So when I was watching the movie, Andrew Garfield to me was like the love child of Michael Richards and Jerry Lee Lewis, with the hair and the motion, and he played Jonathan Larson as somebody who was at one moment would cry or burst into song. Yeah. So I always felt my emotions were kind of up and down throughout the movie because of that. I was reacting to Andrew Garfield, just like on the verge of tears, basically at every single scene.
Wow.
Maybe I was in my feels that day or today or something. But the music was great. It spoke to me because it took place in 1990, the height of the AIDS epidemic. Some of those scenes maybe brought back memories of that time. But the music was great. I also am not a theater person. I knew some of the cameos, which are great, and I was excited to see some people who still look fantastic, people from the theater world that are still look great to this day. But it was an enjoyable movie, and some of the themes might not resonate with people who are around today or
didn't live through that period.
Didn't live through that time period, but it's a fantastic movie, and I really enjoyed it.
I was thinking about that a lot. So that they do talk about there's characters in this. It's the kind of the height of the AIDS epidemic, and that's really sort of, I'm not saying it's front and center in the story, but it's right there. It's a major theme. Just talking about how it really is a reflection on how much our society has changed. I think largely for the better. How being gay and HIV positive in 1990, even in New York City, was just this huge stigma. So that was really interesting. I liked your comparison of him seeming like Jerry Lee Lewis. I would say he's almost like Jerry Lee Lewis and Jerry Lewis, if it's possible to combine those two guys. But it's really, to me, it's sort of like a meditation on the creative fire and being committed to your dreams even when they're not happening year after year after year. I mean, to me, if that's the real theme of the story, is being not just being an artist, but finding something that you love, that you're passionate about, and willing to sacrifice literally everything for it.
And even your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie doesn't break any ground. You know, we've seen this before. We've seen the genius. You know, we've seen the genius who misunderstood genius who isn't very connected with people because the project is the focus.
Right.
Relationships get, you know, cast aside. You don't remember people's names, their birthdays, important stuff, and when the focus is that much on the end result, you have somebody who's not that likable, but
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield, in a way, he, through his charm and his acting and his fantastic voice,
Yeah.
you kind of like him, even though he's a jerk.
What's your take on that? Is the Jonathan Larson character unlikable on some level? Did he come across that way to you?
Not always. I mean, maybe just because I always like Andrew Garfield. Like, I've loved him in Social Network and Hacksaw Ridge and Silence. Like, and even as Spider-Man. Like, he's always had that charisma. I don't know if it's just his voice or I don't know what it is about him, but he's always struck me as, like, that line between awkward and charismatic.
Right.
That
Yes.
always just seems to, like, attract me, almost where I can see myself in that character.
Yeah, that's interesting. He is. There's a lot of like sharp edges to the character in here, and that he's just so focused on not just himself, but on his project. He's trying to get this musical that he's been working on for 8 years called Superbia, if I've got that right.
Correct.
And then, so with the story within the story is he's working on that, trying to get it done, and he's trying to workshop it so that hopefully it'll get picked up by some big Broadway producer. And that ended up kind of becoming the story of his next play, Tick Tick Boom, which is what this was about. So maybe for our last segment, let's talk about the director, whose name I can never get right. Help me out again, Omar.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
There you go. Yeah.
Say it again.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
See, I always want to add a one and do other things in there. God, the guy's going to be like an EGOT winner before too long.
Absolutely.
So I better learn it.
You better.
What do you think about his direction? Does he have a future as a film director, or even do you want to see him do that rather than keep doing Broadway stuff?
For me, I wasn't sure initially, like, how he would work as a director, especially since, like, I know In the Heights was, like, his breakout musical. He didn't even direct that. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if there would be, like, a disconnect, or if it wouldn't feel as personal as some of his previous work. But I thought he did a tremendous job directing it. I thought he made it as, like, stylistic and as...
Yes.
like engaging as possible. I really think he kind of brought like the 90s like tone to it. There's literally a part where it turns into a hip hop music video.
I love that part.
Yeah.
And
I love
like-
that part.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
hip-hop.
Yeah.
And it was touches like that really made his like directing really stand out to me.
I would have to agree. Yeah. I'm not gonna say anymore. Perfectly said.
Yeah, I think this was a good first movie to direct for him because it is a story about a Broadway musical and the stage. So you've kind of always got that stage, the frame, where his brain has been for the last 15 or 20 years, and he knows how to fill that frame with light and color and motion and music. So I think that was a good movie for him to make, because even though it's a film, you still got some of those bookends, the frame where he can think within, where I think he's a real master. And I think the next step will be, can he paint beyond the frame,
Correct.
as they say, and think about the world beyond the stage.
Yeah.
I don't know. Based on this, I have high hopes.
Yeah, I do too.
I do too.
All right, well, guys, thanks again for joining us for Yap versus Yap. We really enjoy doing this and hope you enjoy watching us do them. Thanks very much.